You know that feeling when both you and your partner finally get that big promotion? You sit down at the kitchen table, open up your banking app, and for the first time in years, the numbers actually look healthy. You do the quick math in your head. If I'm making $80,000 and you're making $80,000, that's $160,000. We finally made it. We're rich. You celebrate. You move into the bigger house in the better school district. You trade in the beat-up sedan for 2 reliable SUVs with modest monthly payments. You start ordering the good groceries without checking the price per ounce. But then, 6 months later, you're back at that same kitchen table, staring at the same app, and that familiar, cold knot of anxiety is back in your stomach. Despite making twice as much money as your parents did, you feel twice as squeezed. You're working harder, sleeping less, and yet, one car breakdown or one restructuring at the office feels like it would send your entire life off a cliff. Most financial gurus will tell you that a dual income is the ultimate safety net. They'll say that 2 earners are better than 1 because you have diversified your risk. But here is the thing they are missing, the 2-income trap. The reality is that for most modern families, adding a second income doesn't create a safety net. It creates a tightrope. And that tightrope is suspended over a much higher drop than the 1-income families of the past ever faced. Today, we're going to analyze the specific threshold where more money actually makes you more vulnerable. We're going to look at the cold, hard math of why a $160,000 household is often closer to bankruptcy than a $60,000 household. And most importantly, I'm going to show you how to rewire your life so that 2 incomes actually lead to freedom instead of a gilded cage. When you have 1 income, your brain is forced into a state of militant prioritization. You're playing a game of survival, and the rules are clear. You know exactly how much gas is in the tank, and you drive accordingly. You stay in the smaller house because you have to. You cook at home because the math simply doesn't allow for anything else. Your brain is in a low-voltage state. You aren't taking big risks because there is no backup. But when that second income hits the bank account, your brain undergoes a subtle, dangerous shift. Psychologists call it lifestyle creep, but I prefer to call it the efficiency paradox. Think about it this way. If you're a solo hiker carrying a 20-pound pack, you're careful about every step. You conserve your energy. But if someone offers to help carry your gear, you don't just walk easier. You decide to pack a heavier tent, a portable stove, and a bigger sleeping bag. Suddenly, even with 2 people, the load feels heavier than it did when you were alone. When 2 people work, your fixed costs don't just go up, they explode. You aren't just spending more on fun stuff. You're bidding up the price of houses in the best neighborhoods against other 2-income families. You're paying for 2 commutes, 2 professional wardrobes, and the biggest wealth killer of all, childcare. In survival mode, your brain tells you that as long as the total income is higher than total expenses, you are winning. But you aren't. You've just increased the base pressure of your life. You've moved from a 1,200 PSI system to a 5,000 PSI system. Sure, the pipes are bigger, but if a single seal leaks, the explosion is much more catastrophic. Let's look at that math that the banks and the car dealerships don't want you to see. This is where the 2-income trap becomes a mathematical reality. In the 1970s, the average 1-income family spent about 50% of their income on fixed costs, mortgage, car, basic utilities. The other 50% was discretionary. This meant they had a massive buffer. If the breadwinner lost their job, the stay-at-home spouse could enter the workforce, even at a lower-paying job, to bridge the gap. They had a hidden insurance policy. Fast forward to today. Because you've used both incomes to qualify for the biggest mortgage possible, your fixed costs often consume 75% to 80% of your combined take-home pay. Let's run the numbers. Household A, the old, way earns $5,000 per month. Fixed costs are $2,500. If they lose that income, they need to find $2,500 to survive. Household B, the 2-income trap, both earn $5,000, total $10,000. Because they can afford it, Their fixed costs are $8,000. If either person loses their job, the income drops to $5,000, but the bills stay at $8,000. The two-income family is now $3,000 in the red every single month the moment one person stops working. They have zero backup. The stay-at-home spouse is already working. There is no reserve to tap into. The mathematical pivot. You didn't double your safety. You doubled your exposure to disaster. The second income didn't go into your pocket. It went into the pockets of the bank and the child care provider. You are now working twice as hard to stay exactly where you are. To escape this, you have to undergo a fundamental identity shift. You have to stop seeing yourselves as a high-income couple and start seeing yourselves as a single-income fortress. This requires a level of discipline that most people find impossible. It requires you to look at that second paycheck, every single cent of it, and pretend it doesn't exist. Think about what it actually takes to do this. If you can live on one income while earning two, you are effectively saving 50% of your gross pay. Most people struggle to save 5%. When you save 50%, the math of compound interest doesn't just work, it accelerates like a rocket. The power of the 50% savings rate. If you save 50% of your income and invest it at a standard 7% return, you can achieve complete financial independence in about 17 years. If you save the standard 10%, it takes you 51 years. By living on one income, you aren't just saving money, you are buying 34 years of your life back. That is the true power of the second income. It isn't for a better car, it's for a shorter career. This is where we talk about your secret superpower. When you hit the threshold where you can live entirely on one person's salary, your relationship with the world changes. In the $20,000 milestone, we talked about walking away money. In a two-income household living on one income, you have walking away lives. Imagine your boss comes to you with an unreasonable demand, a project that will keep you away from your family for months, or a toxic environment that is draining your soul. If you're trapped in the two-income trap, you have to say yes. You have no choice. Your mortgage demands your submission. But if you're living on one income, you are negotiating from a position of absolute strength. You can say, actually, that doesn't work for me. Ironically, when you stop acting like you need the job, you become more valuable. You become the person who can speak the truth, take the bold risks, and lead with confidence. People can smell financial desperation. When you remove it, your career trajectory often goes up, not because you're working harder, but because you're working with leverage. We have to talk about the car. It is the ultimate symbol of the two-income trap. I see it every day. A couple pulls up in a $70,000 luxury SUV. They look successful. They look like they've made it. But that car represents an $800 to $1,000 monthly payment. Over a 5-year loan, that's $60,000. But here is the persuasive irony. The person in the 10-year-old Honda Civic who has $100,000 in a brokerage account is infinitely more powerful than the person in the new Mercedes with a $500 balance in their savings. The Mercedes owner is a servant to the bank. The Honda owner is a master of their time. Wealth isn't what you drive. It's the number of options you have when you wake up in the morning. Every time you reward yourself for a raise by increasing your fixed costs, you're handing the keys to your freedom to someone else. You're saying, I value the opinion of people at red lights more than I value my own peace of mind. Here's the part where most people mess this up. They start the live on one income journey. They get to $30,000 or $40,000 in savings, and then they decide they deserve a reward. We've been so good, let's renovate the kitchen. Let's take that $15,000 European vacation. Let's upgrade to the forever home now, while interest rates are okay. Don't do it. That money isn't a reward for good behavior. It is the seed of your future freedom. If you eat the seed, you will never see the forest. The two-income trap is a psychological game. The world wants you to spend. Your neighbors want you to spend, so they feel better about their own spending. The banks need you to spend. To win, you have to be comfortable being the weird one. You have to be the couple that makes $160,000 but lives like you make $70,000. You have to find joy in the internal metric of your net worth rather than the external metric of your possessions. Look, $160,000 a year is a blessing, but only if you treat it with respect. If you let it slip through your fingers into the hands of luxury car brands and oversized mortgages, you will wake up at 55 with a high-status life and a low-status soul, stressed, tired, and trapped. I want you to sit down with your partner tonight. Don't look at your income. Look at your fixed cost ratio. 1. Calculate your survival number. How much do you actually need to live if everything went wrong? 2. Audit your lifestyle creep. Where has that second income disappeared to over the last 2 years? 3. Start the one income challenge. Try to live on 70% of one salary for 3 months. Put the rest in a high-yield savings account and see how it feels. Building a foundation today is the only way to ensure your future self isn't a slave to their past decisions. Your future self is sitting on a porch somewhere, years from now, looking at a sunset with zero weight on their chest, thanking you for the discipline you're showing right now. Trust me, they'll thank you for it.